Good morning, all. Today, I will come once again for metal casting and welding class. In this class,
Morning, sir.
morning, very good morning to all. Okay, so in this now we have left with some of the things in this content sheet. So we completed die casting, centrifugal, continuous, cold and hot chamber, gravity, pressure die casting, and centrifugal, which we covered in the last class itself. Now we left with squeeze, slush, Trickster casting, all these things part. So let us see one by one what exactly these things are. Okay. Uh, okay, shall I brush once again? These things you want
Sir.
these things? Equipment die casting, all these things. Pressure die casting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then fine. So let's have a quick look at these things. Pressure die casting means there is no sand here. It's a permanent die. It's a permanent die casting process, not like a sand casting. There is no sand here. Just remember there is a metal mold which has got different shapes here in between. Okay, there is a plunger hydraulic cylinder. There is a piston connected to this. It will move this. Okay, and this mold will come in contact so that whatever the shape here, what is on the mold, the same shape component you can produce. That is the meaning of this. When this body moves, when this mold section of mold moves to this, okay, definitely there is a fine spray of metal, molten metal here. So whatever the shape you want, you will get that shape. That's how this is called permanent die. Permanent die, this dies can be used n number of times and you can produce many components. Whereas in sand casting, once you make the sand, mold, all these things, there is only opportunity, only one time of opportunity to take the casting. But this is what we use it in the industries. Whenever they want to produce 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh components, so then they go for permanent die casting because that's a very easiest and fast process. Okay, so in that, this is what the figure here. Can you see the second figure here? Where there are two modes are closed. In between there is a molten metal. So advantages: better mechanical properties, homogeneous structure, low shrinkage, good surface quality. All these things are good. Some general advantages. You can write it for all the process because these are all whatever the permanent die cavity is, maybe pressure die casting, centrifugal casting. All these are good. These are all some common advantages. But similarly, the same time disadvantages is one-time investment. Mold cost is in very high and shapes is restricted only for simple shapes. So we have some applications where you see it here. Okay. Next, which is pressure die casting. As I told, the molten metal is pressurized through a external plunger, piston, or some other process, or whatever this external pressure device. But this will push, and this red color molten metal come and flow inside the mold. And after solidification, they will remove this. This is what they do. It. There are two types of uh, process: hot chamber and cold day chamber. Hot chamber means the molten metal, the, the furnace, whatever you call it, it is very near to the mold, just adjacent to the mold. This is the hot chamber process, where it keeps on melting the molten metal. And once this push cylinder will plunge, okay, this will pump the molten metal to the mold and cavities, then they will take the components. Whereas in cold chamber, this is what the hot chamber process. Whereas in cold chamber, what happens? Look here. Here there is no furnaces here. In the diagram only you can see only the mold where you are bringing the molten metal from the ladle, means some kind of device or some kind of container where you pour it here and you press it. This is what happens in this cold chamber. Okay, so cold chamber is what I mean. There is no furnace inside this. There is no furnace adjacent to this mold or cavity. This is what the meaning of this cold chamber. So let's see. So these are some advantages. Die casting highly productivity. Of course, they can produce more number of components with good tolerance, with good surface finish. All these things. Similarly, same disadvantage. Dies are costly, small parts, up to 15 kg you can move. This is some of the disadvantages. Complex and large machineries because you require very lot of equipment, machineries to set up this process. That's a one-time process. Of course, maintenance is required. So investment, I told that. So wax patterns are produced and they're going to keep it here. They pour it for the molten metal. Once you pour the molten metal, what happens? This wax will get heat it up and it will go in time in maybe it may be melted and will come out like a gas or sometimes it will come out as a liquid. Okay, this is called investment. Every time you take the mold, you do it with the you are investing the wax, you are wasting the wax. That's the meaning of investment castings. So here's some of the diagrams where you can show investment these things. First, they'll keep the injected. This is injecting wax, keeping the wax inside the mold box, and you're making some pattern design here, and you're coating with some gum over that. What you will do with gum? You'll coat the with gum on this pattern. When this is coated with gum and you just immerse, you just touch with the sand. What happens? All the sand particle, green part the sand particles will stick on this pattern because there is a gum there. Okay. So what happens? This becomes wax. Okay. Then they'll keep it in the mold box. They'll start pouring the molten metal. What happens? Then where there is a wax, there the molten metal will going to fill. Where there the sand will come out after the when you shake out this pattern. This is one of the investment pattern. This is how they make it. Okay. So some of the ornaments, they're going jewelries, the crafts, all these things they're going to do it with the investment castings. These are the advantages: good dimensional accuracy, relatively inexpensive, rapid production. At a time, you can see that see number of how many rings are there in a single casting? One, two, three, four, five, six. Like this, six, 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 six. This is 18. Some around 20 components. At a time, 20 rings they manufactured. So this is what they did it. Good dimensional accuracy, relatively inexpensive, rapid production rate possible, complex shape. Complex shape means see all these are complex. We cannot able to do it with the machines. Okay. So that is they will make it one with the wax pattern, some other pattern. They'll take a knife very how they're going to build wood carpenter work. Similarly, they're going to craft this, then craft the pattern, then they produce this. Disadvantages: long production cycle. Mold is not reusable. Of course, the investment pattern is a one-time investment. You cannot able to reuse for a next time. Centrifugal casting, I told you an example, a good example is railway wheel, where you have you're going to pour the molten metal inside this container and you rotate it at very high speed. What happens? Because of the rotation and centrifugal action, what happens? This mold will get settled down all around the circumference. Then after solidification, we'll get the wheels, casting wheels. So steel, iron, stainless steel, glass, alloy, aluminum, copper, all these other materials, they use it. Okay, so this is how they make it. In this, there are two, three types: in line to axis, opposite to the axis, and something like horizontal centrifugal gas. There are different combinations of it. That's all. Of course, the principle is common. What is the principle? When molten metal is rotated at very high speed, it will rotate because of the centrifugal action. The molten metal will spread across the chamber. Here, in this in the horizontal way, they're going to make it. Whereas here in the see here, this the pipe is in horizontal position where you get the component in vertical shape. Right? These are the vertical things. So, like whichever component you want, small wheels, flywheel kind of thing, all this can be manufactured. Wheels. Okay. So these are the advantages. Large cylindrical. Of course, whenever you talk about cylindrical centrifugal casting, it should be a circular in shape or cylindrical in shape. The quality will be good and of course expensive because the process setting up the process is expensive and limit only it is made up of only it is restricted to circular shapes, pipes, boilers, pressure vessels, flywheels, all these are in circular shape. That's the reason it is they'll do it with a centrifugal casting. So this is continuous casting. What is the continuous casting? There's a molten metal, there's a dish here, it will go into the chamber, and from this copper mold, whichever the shape you want, circular shape here. Can you see the arrow mark here? Can you come across? If you want circular shape here, or if you want rectangle shape here, or if you want pentagon shape here, whatever the shape you would keep this copper mold, you would keep the shape here, and you just pull it with the roller. What happens? Whatever the shape you want, you can take out. This means whichever how much length you want, continuously you can take length of bars. Okay, the steel rods. Okay, the shafts. All these things can be manufactured from this continuous casting. Only thing is that you should make the required dimension, required size of die here. You should keep it here. So I want circular shape. Yes, instead of a rectangular here, square kind of thing, you can make it pentagon, hexagon, whatever the shape you want. You can keep this die. So same shape you can draw out from this mold. Means continuously you are going to extract. That's the meaning of it. So this is about continuous gas processing. Applications can produce any shape of uniform cross section. That's what I told. The in section, cross section uniform will be uniform always. It may be rectangular, square, hexagonal, gear to the etc. Whatever it may be, solid or hollow, whatever the things you can make it from this. Let us see the new topic today. That is nothing but slush casting. What are the slush casting? Slush casting are the process where it is not you these components which has been produced from the casting is not used for any engineering application. Hmm? It is only used for crafts, for some way the component, the flower vase, whatever things you see it, right? The glass walls, all these things. You should keep it for exhibition. Means it is not used for any engine component or some other purpose, not any structure, something. They just keep it for the exhibition. Some glass, flower vase, all these things. So let us see one example here. See, this is the mold box here, the shaded portion, and where this is the they pour the molten metal here from the ladle. This is the container from the ladle container. Okay, they pour the molten metal, and they'll completely fill this. Completely fill this. After filling this, what happens? They will rotate whole mold inverted. See, they turn this mold back. What happens? Whatever the molten metal you have poured here, it is came back now. Once again, it is collected back to the ladle. But what happens? Because of the temperature, because this is a molten metal and this is a dye, what happens? Because of the temperature difference, what happens? Some of the molten metal is stick to these walls of the mold. Getting my point? Are you there with me?
Yes, sir. We are
Are you
there
there
getting,
with me?
sir.
Yes. See, first they pour the molten metal. After, they will keep it for some time, just few minutes or seconds, something like this. And what they will do, they rotate this mold into ulta. They make it inverted. So what happens? All the whatever they pour the molten metal here, they once again they collect back. Once they collect back, some of the molten metal will stick to this walls of the mold. Then what happens? After solidification, they will remove this off portion of the mold. What do you got it? Can you see this? This is something like a
Thick halo casting.
some thick hollow casting, something like a bottle shape. So, sir, I want more thick, sir. I want increase the thickness. Then what you have to do? Allow it for more number of time here. Allow the molten metal to stay for a longer time. Then you pour it back. Then you invert it. You will get thickness. Okay, it will get increased. This is called slush. Slush means pushing out. Slush means meaning of the slush means just push out. What you will do? It inverted here and we push it out. The same mode. This is the meaning is called slush casting. Hope you are there with me, right? Any doubts here? Any doubts? Any clarifications?
No, sir, no, no.
So this is called slush casting. So next we'll go to the Tixo casting procedure. What is the Tixo casting? Tixo casting. This is one of the slush casting procedure. See here, this is the bottom die. They pour it here, they make it ulta, then they remove it back. This is what they do it in the procedures. Okay, so let us go to the one of the another term called Tixo. What is the Tixo cast? Tixo cast. Tixo means nothing but, or it is sometimes it's also called as semi-solid casting. Semi-solid casting means you from the name itself it is understood that yes, here in this molten metal is not in the completely liquid state. It is almost partially solid, partially liquid. That's the meaning of this. Let us see the one by one. So you'll come to understand what exactly is looking at the diagram. See here, there's a liquid metal here. You allow it for once you heat molten metal, then you allow it for some time. What happens? After some portions of this molten metal start solidification, it becomes solid. So there is a solid plus liquid here because after solidification, right? Then they pour it inside the die and they push it, whatever the compound they want, they take it. So this kind of procedure of casting is called Tixo casting. So why they use Tixo casting? See, Tixo casting utilizes a pre-cast billet that is normally produced by the vigorously stirring the metals at the bar being cast. Induction heating is normally used the billets to the semi-solid temperature range, and die casting machines are used to inject the semi-solid material into hardened steel dies. These are the dies where they're going to heat the molten metal from the induction coil. Okay, once they get molten shape, they allow to solidification. They do only partial solidification. Then only you'll get semi-solid state. When they get semi-solid state, they pour it inside this dies. What happens before pouring into this dies? Even this dies also some they will heat it to 200 degrees Celsius, 300 degrees Celsius. This also get before pouring this molten metal to the die. What they will do? They will preheat the dies. Getting my point? This is the only difference you have to find out here. Before
Yes,
pouring
sir.
this molten metal to the die. Yes. Any doubts?
No, sir, it's clear.
Before pouring the molten metal to the die, this mold is preheated. Preheated means they keep it in the fire. They'll heat it to a certain temperature because once this is semi-solid, it should not get stick to this. It should easily flow here. What they will do, then they will put it here. Sorry. Then they'll be on the line. Similarly, uh, so once they pour, what happens? Similarly, immediately it will take off. Immediately it will it will solidify. What happens? It will easy to push the molten metal. Easy to push molten metal from the mold. Then they will eject out. Sir, why they preheated the mold? Because we are taken the semi-solid state metal, molten metal. It's not a completely molten state. It is semi-solid state. It is a semi-solid state. So you cannot you cannot do that without eating that. If you cannot push that, that's the meaning of the things. Okay, are you there with me? Are you there with me, Mahendra?
Yes, sir.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Are you there with me? Are you there with me? Gautam, Lalit,
Yes,
Jose,
Yes,
sir.
sir, we are
are you
there.
there?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Are you
sir.
there? Okay. See, there's a beauty of the things there. So once they preheated, what happens? It will take to the next level. Once they preheated, it will not stick to the surface. That's the meaning of this. Once they preheated, it will not stick to the surface. Yes, tell me. Any doubts? Any questions? Any questions from your side? Any questions from your side?
No, sir.
Right. So
No, sir.
once they heat it, preheated, it will easily come out. It will not stick. It will not jam here. That's the purpose of this thing. Sir, why they preheated, sir? Why they cannot take a liquid metal and pour itself? Well, why they wasted time, sir? You may ask the question, sir. What is the use of? See, what happens? Texture casting is the ability to produce extremely high quality components due to the product consistency, the result of using precast billet that is manufactured under continuous process conditions that are employed making forging and rolling stock. See what happens here. Once you make the component from this texture casting, the microstructure will be improved. Means the strength of the component is will be very good compared to other process. In this process, if you do like this, what happens? The microstructure is improved. Okay, means the quality of the components are good, the strength of the components are good. That's the reason they make it. Then what are the things they make it from this texture casting, sir? Can you see that hydraulic brake valve? This kind of structure they do it with this texture casting. So they do it with this rim, automobile wheels. Sometimes they go for alloy wheels. You said right, the car wheels, the bike, all these alloy wheels. They're going to manufacture. The cylinder, master brake cylinder, the brake pump, where they're going to push the fluids. Okay, the cylinder. So they're going to manufacture. So why this? Why they manufacturing here? Because this component required good mechanical strength. They should be, if this brake part in the engine or in the automobile goes failure while you're driving, what happens? You lose the control, it leads to accident. Even this is also very important. Automobile wheels, these wheels will take n number of different types of loads when they're going, when they're moving. Okay, it will take the load, bending load, it will take the cyclic load, all kind of loads. Okay, they should be very strong. That's the reason they go for this thing. So so that's about the taxa casting. Now we'll see about the squeeze casting. We look at into the squeeze casting. Sir, what is the squeeze casting? Squeeze casting is very simple. Just they take the mold here, they'll keep the metal here, they'll have one more upper die, they just press it. Once they press here, upper die and lower die, what happen? Whatever the remaining gap is there, see here, red color, it is filled up here. So after certification, they will remove this part and they take out this U-shape bars. This is called squeeze. Now, what is the squeeze casting? Just they squeeze the die, whichever shape they want, they do that. So what are the things they must usually they will manufacture the piston cap, piston heads of this squeeze casting. This is very simplest process. That's all. Because they'll use a simple geometry, not complicated geometry. Not like this. There is no structure like this. Holes, ups and down, curves, fillets, all these things not there here. See here, just a flat U shape. It's a symmetric, a simple geometry. So application here when you do it, as I told, piston they manufacture. Okay, sometimes they'll manufacture rim wheel also. Here also they'll manufacture. Once they make the die, they press it and it, because structure is not complicated. It's also a little bit, not much complicated. Are you there with me? Yes, students, are you there with me?
So,
Yes, sir.
Now, now you can ask any questions related to this. Any questions from your side? It is most welcome. I'm happy to answer